Hello everyone, welcome back to ICS Mahesh PU College Dharwad, and I am your teacher Murali Hegde. We are dealing with second PUC English subject, and in today's session let us discuss on Khalil Gibran's On Children. Dear friends, Khalil Gibran is a Lebanese American poet who brings out high philosophy of life in his simple and beautiful poetic essays. The Prophet is his best known work and has been translated into more than 25 languages. On Children is a selection from the Prophet and is a critique of the usual expectations of parents about their children. It is rightly said that every child is born with a personality, his or her own likes, dislikes, dreams, and desires. But sometimes parents forget the same and they interrupt the growth and development of the child. In this regard, Khalil Gibran's On Children is a best guide and a handbook for parents. Khalil Gibran, through this poem, offers to guide parents on the essence of parenting with love, much against the mundane expectation. In this poem, a mother approaches the prophet to know about his perspectives on children. He captures the attention in his shocking declarations. Let us see what he tells about the parent and children relationship. He starts his narratives with a shocking declaration, as I have mentioned earlier. He says, "Your children are not your children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you." Here, the poet says, or the first line evokes a visceral response in most of us parents who feel a biological, emotional, and spiritual instinct to care for our children. We choose, perhaps, to have them. We are conscientiously raising them, teaching them, and loving them. Then the question arises, what do you mean by they are not your children? But of course, they are not. They do not belong to us. We do not own them. We may have chosen or not to conceive them, but we didn't choose to who they are. We are the means by which they came into the world, but we did not design them. A force greater than ourselves, God or nature, something has brought them on this planet Earth. Life's longing for itself. So life, here the poet says that life having its own desires or something which is needed is decided by someone that we call as an unseen power or Almighty or God or nature, whatever it might be. So to fulfill that rule or that need, they have arrived through us. Whatever you want to call it, it is something beyond our limitation and our control that has brought our children on this planet Earth. Not only are our kids not ours, but also let's think about own mortality also. It's our common human tendency, that which is highlighted by the poet in this poem. We purchase land and say it's mine. We earn currency notes and we say my money. But we forget that only the value of that currency note or that land is ours, not the currency note, which belongs to the community. In the similar way, only that gathered moment, gathered happiness is ours, not our children. That is what Khalil Gibran is telling, to be very liberal towards the children. He further says, you may give them your love but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies. You may house their bodies but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. Dear friends, we may love a flower for its beauty, but can we expect the same feeling from that flower towards us? In a similar way, we can give unconditional love to our students, our children. It's our duty, but we should not expect anything from them. That is what the poet is highlighting here. He says, children live with their parents, but they do not belong to them. Parents may give their love to their children, and they should never force their ideas on children. Children have their own ideas and identity because they are born with some of the abilities as well as dreams and desires also. Seriously, though this is not so true. Children come with their own unique identity and their own unique path to play in this world. We can't imagine what potential lies within them, and we certainly can't imagine what their world will be like in the future also. Because this technology, or we can say life, will move further. Every moment we have to move. We don't know what is going to come, what we are going to face in the next moment. But our duty, without putting any restrictions, to keep our children able to receive and conquer the obstacles of the life. He further says, in this particular part, he gives the guidance. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrow may go swift and far. Dear friends, we have the opportunity, we have the ability, we can care for them and offer them what we can, but we can't make them think like us or believe like us. And we should not want to, because they will need different thoughts and beliefs to negative a world we can't foresee. They are living in their own time just as we are. And they were created for their time, not ours. Parents understand this concept of time better than anybody. There's no halting time, and there's certainly no reversing it, no matter how much we might wish to do. Time marches forward and we all move forward with it. It's so tempting to want to make our mark on or through our children, but they have their lives and we have ours. They have their own destinies to fulfill and we have ours. Our destinies are interwoven, but they are not the same. And the prophet here tells that indirectly that we can try to become like them, means we can accept the changes in the world. As Albert Einstein said, accepting the change is the intelligence. Parents can accept the changes and they can become like modern people, they can live, but parents can't force their children to go back for a decade or two or one generation, because which is not possible to them. Perhaps this is why parents say parenting doesn't get easier. The closer we are to sending our children out into the world, the future we have to bend. We get stretched to our limit, and before we know it, they are off. But the bending and stretching are painful. And he says that you parents are made for the preparation of your children's future. Like the way you bend, the like way you toil, you get struggle, you fight. The children they can extend their hands towards the future. To send them to the heights of this world or their dreams or the peak of their abilities, parents must work hard, he says. Later, he tells, let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. What a lovely reminder to find joy through the pain. Because we and our children are loved by the divine. And to be strong, because our stability will help our children to fly. He tells us to be happy for this bending, for this struggle, for putting the efforts to making our children to reach the abilities or to reach their dreams. It is, in other words, we can say that we have to accept happily which control is not in our hands. There is the enjoyment. There is the beauty of enjoyment in every moment if you start loving the challenges and accepting it. So that he tells here, we people, parents, every time thinks about our children who are unique, individual human beings with whom we are only together for a spell. Our children who will help move the wheel of humanity a few feet farther than we'll be able to see. Our children who have their own destiny and their own purpose, separate and apart from our own. So that he repeatedly tells not to interfere in the journey of their success. And to conclude, he beautifully brings up the concept of life's creations and its aspirations. So the advice here to parents is, they shall not pressurize children with their thoughts. Parents are suggested rather to follow the way of children than trying to change children to be like them. The prophet says that this is because life keeps moving forward and never retracts. He further substantiates his philosophy by making metaphorical references. Parents are compared to bows and children are compared to arrows. The archer, God Himself, sets his eyes on the target which is infinite and sends his arrows swift and far by bending the bow with his might. Parents should take delight in his act of bending that involves a great strain. The prophet strikes a perfect conclusion by referring to the law of creation where God loves both the bow and the arrow as they complement each other on life's infinite journey. Khalil Gibran stresses here the importance of children's individual views and independent ideologies not influenced by their parents. So, I hope if every parent understands this whole world, if every parent understands this, then whole world will be free from any kind of parent-children conflicts. Dear friends, with this, I conclude this elaboration of Khalil Gibran's On Children. Thank you one and all. Have a great time ahead.